Welcome to the Man Within podcast. We are your hosts.
I'm Aurelia.
I'm Tatiana. And today we have a wonderful special guest, Joe Cimato, who is a father, a veteran, a coach, and just an overall awesome guy that I'm so glad to know. He makes great food too. Just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Knows how to cook some meat. And we're just going to jump right in today and hear from Joe about his life and his journey. And we're just so honored you're here.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be great.
It is.
Absolutely. So we'll just dive on in with the question that we always start off with. Can you describe a breakthrough moment in your life that impacted your life as a man, emotionally, relationally, spiritually?
Yeah, sure. And that's an exciting question. I had to think about it and reflect on it. And immediately I came up with 1,000 different answers. But I decided to focus in really on one specific experience. Mm. And really it's when I really embraced the privilege of responsibility that really shifted who I was, really who I thought I was as a man. I would say it started kind of earlier in high school when I was embracing my own responsibility. But later on in my life, I embraced the responsibility of others, and that's really the big change. In high school, I was team captain of my soccer team and team captain of my swim team. So I felt like if I could just improve myself and be the best version of myself I could be, I could lead through example and inspire the soccer team or the swim team and lift people up through setting the example. And I think that actually built the building blocks for something that was even deeper and more profound. As I went to college, I went to the ROTC program through the University of Texas. And then after college, I commissioned in the Army. And for the first 18 months or so, I was on an individual journey to perfect my craft. I went through the Infantry Officer Basic course, a Bradley Fighting Vehicle course, U.S. Army Ranger School. And those are all built to build myself, my technical, tactical, strategic competencies, and leadership as well. But you really don't know the burden of responsibility until you've got it all. So we practiced being leaders. We practiced having responsibility. But my first duty station was in Germany, and I took command of a platoon of 30 other men. And we had 4 Bradley Fighting Vehicles, 30 men. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, it's not enough just to be really good at what I do. Because the accomplishments and the achievements of everybody else that's with us far exceeds what I can do individually. Far exceeds. So I had some great mentors along the way that showed me what right looks like. I had first sergeants and commanders who had been in the Army 10 to 15 years. And then I had peers who had only been in the Army a couple more years than I had. And it's such a tight community that shares best practices, shares their thoughts, shares their successes and failures. And it's very, very encouraging. And everybody wants each other to do well, because you depend upon the person to your left and right. And it's really a positive, great learning environment. And so when I think about that, I had people in my platoon that I was in charge of and responsible for anywhere from 18 to 40 years old. And I was 24 years old. And so a 30-year-old with a wife and 2 kids has well different responsibilities at home than an 18-year-old.
Sure.
And I found that I was actually taught to go search that out and seek that out. Like, what's happening at home that's either helping or hurting you at work in the Army? Like, let's create a stable environment and help you succeed everywhere in your life, and not just what you do when you come into work every day. And those dividends really, really paid off. And that responsibility that I took on that was greater than myself, really, that made me feel connected. And that connection to the people that I worked with and for, and the people I commanded, it really, built a huge, solid team and relationship. and I served in the Army for 10 years and increasingly commanded larger organizations. And that was always true, is embracing the responsibility, embracing holding myself accountable for everything that is done or failed to do, and knowing that the accomplishments of everybody can just far exceed what I could ever do by myself. And I took that to the corporate world when I left the Army, and have led with a people first mentality, and doing the same things I did in the Army as I am in the corporate world. Sure. I mean, it was in the Army, it's very physical, outdoors, and in the corporate world where I work, it's IT centric. So it's a much different style, but I still care about the same things. I still care about the health and welfare of the folks that I work with. And again, their accomplishments far exceed what I can do myself. And then when I think about where I bring that to my community, when I left the Army, I felt a real sense of loss of identity. I was Captain Joe Cimato, commander of a company in the 101st Airborne Division. And then when I left the Army, I became the new guy working at this corporation. Sure. And so all of that I had just worked for my entire life was gone, and I had to start over again. And I was an individual contributor. I was just in charge of me, myself, and I, and the work that I was doing. And it absolutely was not fulfilling at all. And then, fortunately, my oldest son, Jackson, turned 4.5 at that time. He started playing sports. And so I signed him up for soccer, which was my passion growing up. And I instantly saw just the lack of adult participation in the league. And so after the first practice, I told the coach, hey, I'd love to help you out. I've never coached before. I've played all my life. I'd love to help you out. And that coach welcomed my help. And oh my gosh, it gave me back what I was missing. And that was a connection to something that was greater than myself. Taking on the responsibility. And then from there, it just kind of took off like wildfire. I coached, my oldest was a terrible soccer player and he hated it. So, but I just followed him into his interests. So he shifted to flag football, and then he shifted to rock climbing, and then he shifted to swimming, and then he shifted to diving, and I just followed him all along the way. My younger son was interested in soccer, so I coached all of his teams. He shifted to mountain biking, so I'm on the board for the mountain bike team. And embracing that responsibility, it's such a joy for me because it connects me to my community. It connects me to everything that's outside of my head, and I just love it. So when I think of what it means to be a man, it's really embracing that responsibility that's greater than myself. And I do have to hold myself accountable to be as best as I can be, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. You got to go further and go take on responsibility that's out there, because there's so many gaps in our communities where we've got folks that love to complain, but not a lot of folks stepping up. And so when we talk about what it is to be a man and what a masculine trait is, a lot of it is, to me, is stepping up and being part of the force of good. So.
Oh, wow. No, thank you for sharing that. I feel like as you were speaking, I know you used the word responsibility, but what I felt was really coming through, and you spoke about it in a very humble way, that you were comparing yourself to the other members in your military unit, and how some of them were, say, more accomplished than you. But what I'm hearing come through too is the concept of leadership, and how you, regardless of the situation, you seem to rise to a position of leadership. So I'm curious if you felt like that was something that was inspired in you, say, when you were younger, or if it occurred as a result of the environment you were placed in, with these other men and the need to guide, and even with your own children now, when you said, coach, I want to help. So I was wondering if you could just share a little bit about how you perceive that leadership component for men.
Yeah. So, and this one's close to my heart here because it starts with my parents, and my mom passed this summer, and so every time I think of her, I still get choked up. But my parents stepped up for everything. For swim team, my mom never missed a swim meet, and she participated on the swim team board when I was a kid. My dad was my soccer coach until my skills outgrew his coachability, probably middle school time. So I had two great examples of what leadership looks like and what right looks like. And my dad didn't know a dang thing about soccer, zero. And he couldn't watch YouTube either. So he would go read books, take some classes on how to be a soccer coach, and then off he went to go be a soccer coach.
Wow.
So that was the inspiration for me. And then also, I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. So all my friends' parents were FBI, CIA, State Department, Secret Service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. And so I was surrounded by my friends whose parents were also folks who stepped up and lived a life of service. Service first.
Cool. And yeah, it's really, I mean, you're saying so many beautiful things. Thank you, Joe, for sharing all of it. But what I find really cool is that you're kind of pointing to this, you don't have to know everything to lead. You don't have to be the best to lead. It's more so a call to serve and a call to show up. And I love when you said the privilege of responsibility. I don't think I've ever heard that before. And what might you say to someone, like a young man who is like, ugh, I don't want responsibility. That sounds like a lot of work, and I might fail, and doesn't seem fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and you might fail, and it might not always be fun, and it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Show up once and inspire a kid to do something. Inspire a kid to do anything. And then take a second and see how that feels. I would challenge anybody to say that that's not an incredible experience. I mean, you look at teachers, for the salaries they get versus the job that they do, they got to do it for a reason, and they got to get something back from that, right? And that's
it's
the
not
same
just
thing.
summers off.
Yeah, it's not summers off. It's they get something more than that, and we can touch on that world too, just by stepping up. So, a young person who's afraid of responsibility, I believe in you. Like, I believe in you. You can do it. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. There was, I never played football in my life other than backyard football, and I coached my son's flag football team. And I went to one of the video games and looked up all the plays on the video games, and that was our playlist for the team. And the team did great.
Love it.
And it wasn't because of me. I just gave a little bit of guidance and a lot of positive reinforcement. And then there was a former University of Texas football player who came out, and he just showed up just to be with the kids. He didn't do much coaching. He really just was a support for the kids, and it was fantastic. The kids loved that he was there. We go back to leadership. I think my first rule of leadership is to show up. Once you show up, then everything else can happen after that.
Love it.
Can you say more about what that means to you, like show up?
Oh, yeah, it can mean a million different things.
Yeah.
And so show up first is to support, if it's a person or an organization, let them know that you support them and you will be there for them mainly in the hardest times. In my work at the office, I've got a very dispersed team. They work 4 different time zones and some across the globe, and I can't be everywhere, but I will be there at the hardest times. And so you apply that to life, you apply that to coaching, you apply that to your friends, you apply that to your family. Showing up in stepping up and being present, being helpful, being open, and then willing to offer guidance, counsel, and experience in those times is showing up. And then the part that I am really starting to work on now in my life is showing up and admitting that I don't know the answer and I don't have the experience and I don't know where to go, which is very hard. But that is my current growth opportunity.
I'm curious why you feel it's very hard.
I'm 52 years old, and through from high school to today, folks have depended upon me to know what the right answer is and know which way to go and what direction to head. And so today, things are okay at work, things are great at work. A lot of the coaching is gone. My kids are older now, and so now we're breaking into brand new territories again. My oldest is 21 years old. He's living on his own. He's forging his own career, and it's in a career path in the culinary arts.
Cool.
That I know nothing about. So I guess I'm finding myself back at flag football, right? Where and it's different, where I can only offer him advice and help him ask the right questions to find out where he needs to go, rather than telling him, here are your options on where to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm helping him ask the right questions that he can answer, and I'm finding I don't have the answers.
Mm-hmm. But it's still a show up, right? Like you're still you're present, you're available, and I know that in my life, when my family and my friends are just there, just to listen, sometimes that's really all you need.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of chewing on your words a little bit.
I'm chewing too.
There's just so many deeper questions that we could ask. But, I mean, it sounds like your sons, even now, and just as a father, your leadership has evolved. And it's obviously a lot more personal, right? As you guide these young men on their journey into manhood, what are some of the areas that you try to focus on, that important, just whatever it is that you feel like you really need to convey to them to really embody the best and highest version of themselves as men?
Yeah. My oldest son was struggling in high school. So when we were talking about what to do after high school, I grew up where you had to go to college. My dad was the first one in his family to go to college, and therefore my brother, my sister, and myself would also go to college, because that's how to become successful. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was the right answer, because that's what I grew up with, and that's what all my friends grew up with, and that's what we all did. And so when my son said, I am done with school. When I graduate, I'm done. I don't want to do any more of it. I want to do something else. I said, okay, come to me with 5 options, and let's see what you pick. And his top 3 options were culinary school, A, B, and C. And options 4 and 5 were like gap year, followed by working at the coffee shop in Dripping Springs, Texas. And so I wasn't thrilled, because none of those were college, and I couldn't hide my face either. He saw that I wasn't on board and happy with the 5 options that he gave me, which I regret. Could I do it again? I would show nothing but support in like, wow, well done researching 5 great options. I got to that, but it was through conversation, and so I asked him, I'm looking, okay, tell me about what culinary school looks like. And so he did, and he shattered what I thought the right answer was. And so the lesson that I learned from that is, and I've learned this lesson a million times being a father, but the lesson I learned was help them find what their passion is, and then give them the tools to be great at it and follow it and go pursue it as the best they can. And then my 16-year-old, I still kind of push, but my 21-year-old, I pull by asking questions of him. And I'm not pulling out answers that I want to hear. I'm helping him pull out answers that he needs to hear for himself.
Interesting. When you say you push your 16-year-old, what does that look like versus pulling?
So my 16-year-old, I still help him succeed. So we go to mountain bike practice, and if he's being lazy or not giving a great effort, I'll push him, and I'll notice and I'll push him. And we're doing it as recreation plus, so not super competitive, but I still want to see effort. And it's the effort. Whatever effort he gives is gonna yield the result he deserves. And so I ask him, I'm like, hey man, you give a great effort, you're gonna get a great result. And so that's something I love to see is a great effort.
For a great result.
For whatever result that effort brings is success. And that goes with grades as well. As long as he tries, then the grade that he earns, that's good enough for me.
Seems like you're really involved with your sons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was that always something that you saw for yourself? Like, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be a father. This is what big part of my life.
It was no, not until I met my ex-wife. I just wanted to be an Army Ranger, and I wanted to go all over the world doing really, really cool stuff, jumping out of planes, kicking indoors, and living in the woods and doing Army stuff. And then once I met my ex-wife and fell in love and we got married, then all of a sudden I realized that a family could be possible for me. And so, and plus my peers were also in that same position I was. All got married at the same time and all started having families at the same time. And then my oldest was born when I was in Iraq, and he was 10 months old when I got home.
Whoa.
And so I had a steep learning curve. The boy's mom was 10 months ahead of me on being a parent. And that is a significant change. I'd say that learning curve is so steep, the next 10 years don't even match that first 10 months. So I had a lot to catch up on.
Wow.
And so it was hard, but I enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wow. That's wild to have a son born with you not present.
I was fortunate in that 3 of my best friends were also having the same experience. And so when we all came home, we got together probably 2 months later after coming back from Iraq, and we were sharing some beers and lamenting how awful we are at this parenthood thing. And it takes 4 diapers to change the child because they keep messing it because messes happen. And we're talented or skilled enough to be able to get a diaper change in one sitting. And the kids were velcroed to their moms because they had bonded with their moms. And so as dads, we'd all be trying to help out and all trying to distract and play with the kids as mom was resting, cooking, cleaning, or doing whatever.
Sure.
And all of our kids all wanted to be with their moms instead of us. So that was hard not to be able to be enough for your son. But it was comforting to know that we're all in the same boat and it'll come. And it did.
How did you see that shift?
Probably once I started coaching. I think that built a much stronger bond with my son. And he looked at me in a different light. And I became somebody that he wanted to be more like. After seeing me coach and seeing his peers and his friends look up to me as a coach, he saw what they were seeing in me, and I think that helped. And I found that again with my younger son. I coached him soccer, and one year I bit off more than I could chew. I had a new job at work. I volunteered to be the president of our alumni association at UT. And I was also coaching his soccer team. And I was also volunteering for the swim team. So I backed off on soccer, and I just told, and then I was just an assistant coach one season. And my youngest son, he looked at me, he goes, "I like it better when you're the main coach, not the assistant coach."
Okay.
And that's all I ever needed to hear. And so I stuck
That's
with.
so sweet.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, kids come out of their mother's bodies, and there's just this like innate closeness that's just biological and there. And you're making me kind of be curious and question just that. What does it take to really bond with your child as a father? And what you're kind of telling me is being really involved and guiding them and showing them your skills and letting yourself be seen. Because I think just biologically, men would go out and fight some stuff and go on adventures, and there's just this different orientation that kids naturally have, but that you were able to bridge that by creating an atmosphere and an environment of collaboration, guidance.
Yeah, and it was a different experience with my younger son. When he was 1 and my older one was 6, my ex-wife left us for a period of time. So I had a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old that I was full-time caregiver for. And at 1 year old, that was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I became number 1 in his life. And it was like I was heartbroken and struggling personally. But wow, my 1-year-old shifted from his mom to me as his primary, and it was really, really amazing. And it's a bond that is different today because of that experience. My 6-year-old, I would just he would sit there at dinner and just cry. And I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. I said, Jackson, why are you crying? And he would say, I don't know. And so I would just sit next to him and put my arm around him and tell him it would be okay. I didn't know what to say or what to do. He was obviously crying because his mom wasn't home, but I didn't know how to address it with him. So I just did the best I could at that moment.
It's really sweet, Joe. And not a very, I don't often, maybe you don't either, I don't often hear about men raising children, being the sole provider, sole caregiver, especially at that age. And, and I love hearing you say, like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Even though it was hard.
Yeah.
I really admire that.
Thank you. Yeah, my favorite time was bedtime for Marco, my younger one, sitting in the glider, feeding him the bottle, and putting a child to bed is phenomenal because the temperature's perfect, the music is perfect, you've got the warm body right here, and oftentimes I would fall asleep. Marco did fall out of my arms a couple times, but he survived. But it's a good experience. It's a very peaceful place for me. I was a little sad the day that we gave the glider away.
I hear this continuous desire to give, and you definitely give of yourself over your lifetime in whatever role you take on. I'm curious, how do you and what are you teaching your sons about how to return to center, how to ground yourself? Because it can be exhausting, the constant conquering and excess energy that's required of you in those roles. What are you teaching them about how to return to self?
That is a great question, and I don't know that I do it well. I go, and that is my center. And so,
Love that.
Why aren't the rest of you going, go? That's how we center, right? I've got to do a much better job of figuring out what each of the boys feels is their center, and then enable that. My son Marco loves online video games, and it actually relaxes him. Despite all the stimulation that's in video games, it relaxes him, and he feels that's where he finds his center. My son Jackson is much more reflective and thoughtful than I've ever been, and he likes his personal time where he can just stop and think and review his thoughts, sees how he feels about them, and then deciding his course of action on his own time. And I'm learning to support that as best as I can, and even look out for when I see, like my older son, when I see him start to feel the stress of the culinary world, which is go, 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 go. Just reminding him that he is so thoughtful and he knows what's right for himself. And he was the one that told me that culinary school was the way to go, in spite of what I thought his route should be. And he was right. He was very right. And he always will be right for himself. So helping him with that.
When I hear you say that, I'm definitely fascinated by coaches, sports coaching, because I feel like there's just this like fine line of like, I'm not a sports person. I've had some coaches that really just kind of ruined it for me. You know? Just barking at me and making me feel like terrible. Like, why do I want to show up for this? But then, you know, there's that healthy edge of like, I'm going to be on your ass to be your best. And how do you maintain that line as a father, as a coach of like, I'm going to let them lead here. I'm going to actually take in what they're sharing with me versus like, I'm going to push back a bit. I'm going to light a fire.
Yeah, I cross that line all the time. I go too far all the time, and I go not far enough all the time.
Great.
Last year, my son Marco had a fantastic season mountain biking. He had a really great season. And this year, as we were talking about mountain biking, he expressed to me, he goes, "You're kind of making mountain biking not so fun." I was like, what? How could that possibly be? And he said, you know, after I get done biking and I want to be done, you tell me to go on another lap. After, if I'm having a hard day at school or I'm exhausted from school and I show up at mountain biking, you give me a hard time when I'm not working hard enough. And you're making it not fun for me. And I'm so glad he told me that, because that's the last thing I want to do, is make it not fun for him. Because number one, we're not going to get a scholarship in mountain bike, right? We're doing it for fun, and we're doing it for health, and we're doing it because it's a great sport. And so I was real proud of him for telling me that I was pushing him too hard. And that's probably one of the first times in his life where he's told me I've pushed him too hard. That was good.
And was that like easily identifiable to you? Were you like, oh yeah,
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew exactly where I was pushing him too hard. I mean, I can read it in his face every time. But what I didn't realize until he told me was I was making it not fun.
Yeah, so how interesting is that? Like, how do you know when it's like, yeah, it's not going to be so fun all the time, but it's worth it, versus like, oh, I'm kind of ruining what this is all about.
Yeah. I don't want to make him quit, right? And so, and this is the same with grades too. With, like, I know he could have straight A's, but he's got other priorities, and he's a 16-year-old, and he's got a car, and he's got friends, and he's got his life that he's trying to live. And so I want to push him to try. And so focusing more on the effort and not the result, I think, will keep me in that kind of sweet spot of the right amount of pressure.
That makes sense.
I'll tell you in a couple of years. See how it works out.
Okay.
Well, it sounds a little bit too like that. Part of that return to center is also allowing them the sovereignty to recognize what their limits are based on where they are right now. And I think that's pretty important. I'm curious what their relationship is like as brothers.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic in that I love to see them together. I really do. They are wonderful. I got divorced when my oldest was 12, my youngest was 11 and 6. And as they would move from my house to their mom's house for weekends and then back to my house for the week, they were always together. it was always the two of them. So they were each other's constant. And despite the just the horror of splitting a family, the two of them had each other the entire time. They were embraced by their dad. They were embraced by their mom. But they always had each other everywhere they went. And so that's really built a strong relationship. My youngest was having a hard time in high school, just adjusting to life that's changing. And so my oldest asked me to fly him up to go spend a weekend with him in Denver, which I did. And it was fantastic. Marco went up to go see Jackson in Denver for a long weekend, came back, and just was really, he got a lot of great advice from his older brother. And they loved their time together.
That's so sweet. I know that you have a lot of groups of men that you connect with, that you kept up with. You've had a group of men specifically since kindergarten. And I'm hearing you as you're sharing right now, just the value of shared experience, the value of being responsible to each other. And I admire that. I don't hear about it very much. And I'm curious, there's a lot of lonely guys out there these days. A lot of men who are like lone wolfing and don't have a lot of connection to community, haven't had that example that you had with your parents. And I wonder what you might say to like a lone wolfer who's like, one, how do I maintain a relationship with men? What's your advice? And two, why should I?
Yeah. I think one of the ways that men bond is through a common challenge. So volunteerism provides a million challenges. If somebody is a lone wolf, go volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. What a big challenge. You've got minimal supplies, minimal funding, and minimal human power. And what a great opportunity to do something great for somebody else. And go volunteer for something like that and see who you meet in that area. You'll be forced to depend upon people because you can't build a house by yourself.
Right.
And so when you're forced to depend upon somebody else, that'll build a bond. And especially and I think for men, when it's a big challenge, then you can beat your chest when you're done and say, look what we did.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great way to do it. And then through sport is really fantastic. I mean, sports teams are all have similar type deals where you're challenged by the other team or challenged by the hill that you're trying to run up or ride up or whatever. I think do some kind of physical challenge together with somebody else and then see what that brings you.
And in that, I hear like you get to also on some level be vulnerable because it's not always going to be sunny and peachy. There's going to be struggle. There's going to be...
And that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to be like you're going to run into things where you have no answer for, you have no materials for, you have no knowledge on how to do it. And you have to be vulnerable to say, I don't know the answer. Can you help me? Or somebody has to be vulnerable with you and say, and you have to answer. Like, are you willing to give that help? Are you willing to be constructive? Are you willing to be a friend?
And then why? Why should a lone wolf join a pack?
Oh, we're better together. We really are. I'm an extrovert by nature, so that's I get recharged in a pack. And both my boys are introverts, so a pack wears them out. But it's not that the pack wears them out. They recharge by themselves, but they get back into their groups of friends, and then they participate in the pack, and they're both better for the experience that they have with their friends. Just like my friends that I grew up with, we're all better because of each other. We have coached each other on relationships and raising kids and sports and agonizing over football together and all the things. It's a good community to have. You don't have to do it by yourself, and you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't agonize about football alone.
That's true.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's true. Yep.
It's so funny to me.
So,
Oh, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
The amount of agony that grown men can feel. I put out a video to my friends. I said, "Hey, look, Texas is playing Ohio State in the semifinals. I'm about to put all of my emotional health and welfare into a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds who I've never met. Here we go. Let's do it."
I love it.
It's vulnerability, is what it is,
Yeah, it is. Being real.
or a form of it. Yeah.
I love it.
so I heard you say the word relationships, and I heard you say vulnerability, and I'm wondering about how these connections that you're building in the masculine world are translating into your relationship, say with your wife. Like what does that bring with it in your interaction with the feminine?
Yeah. Well, it's having a shared experience lets me know I'm not alone.
Right.
And if I'm not alone, it can't all be my fault. And so it kind of takes it takes the extreme accountability away. Like, hold on, Joe, we're all feeling this. We're all having this experience. It's not just you. Like, you're not doing something wrong per se. You don't have a character problem. You don't have a thought problem. You don't have a something that is just 100% your fault. We're all experiencing this. We're all maybe not that great in some ways. So go into it in a little less defensive manner and a little bit more open to discovery or self-discovery.
So yeah, more space for you to, sounds like, share your experience of what comes up in your marriage. And
Oh, it's a great place to be wrong. Like, and we'll call each other out.
Nice.
Very, very quickly. Like, ooh, I would not have done that. Here's what I've done successfully in the past. Here's what I've done unsuccessfully in the past, and we've got more of those stories than we have the success stories.
Yeah.
Or we're free to because we can always men love to joke about things that we are terrible at, and so we very often offer up our failures.
How is that, to offer up your failures with each other?
Oh, it's a relief. It's a
Nice.
relief. Yeah, because there's nothing riding on it when you're talking to your friends. You know, it's and so it just opens it up for jokes, for scrutiny, and also for support.
Yeah, the improvement.
And they all come and you get all things with it.
That's so rich. And yeah, I mean, to piggyback on what Aurelia asked, like, because it seems that you've spent so much time with men, actually.
Oh yeah,
Probably like the majority
for sure.
of your life with men. How is it when you pop into the feminine world? Like, is it like, what is this? Is it like, oh, I love this contrast? Is it like, you feel right holding your pole? Like, how is that for you?
So my wife is extremely feminine. Like, she brings the feminine energy,
For sure.
top to bottom. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. And we've had a ton of occasions where I'm hanging out with my wife and her girlfriends, and it's great because I just continue to be myself, and it seems to be appreciated. And it just kind of reinforces. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. Goodness, this is awesome. But my wife will definitely struggle with my ability to express my emotions because I've got at least 4, right? So happy, sad, frustrated, excited. You know?
Bare bones.
Yeah.
Happy and excited. I like that those are both there.
Yep. So I've got at least 4. But I picked up an app that helps me realize that there's more. There's like awe, there's wonder, there's confusion, there's all the other things. So, and then Brene Brown has a book called The Atlas of the Heart that I'm reading, which is really cool because it actually defines the emotions because they can be construed as a whole bunch of different things. So that's helping me. And then through my education, it's helping my relationship with my wife, for sure.
Beautiful. I'm sure she's super grateful.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that you're still learning and open to gathering knowledge. There's actually a whole pillow now that has the emotion wheel.
Oh, really? That's fantastic. I probably need to get it.
I will share a link with you.
Yeah, great. Perfect. Having it is one thing, and then using it appropriately is another thing. So I'm slowly moving into the second half of being able to use it appropriately.
Would you say your main motivation for understanding your emotions is your wife?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And one of the things that my wife advises is don't do it for me.
Okay.
Do it for yourself. Do it for your kids. And that's a much better answer. But when I do it for myself, it is going to positively affect my relationship with my wife.
Right.
And it's not for her. It's for us. And I'm kind of an obliger by nature. So I will do something for somebody else way before I'll do something for myself. So when I look at it and I put it in terms of, oh, this is going to better our relationship is us, it's not me. Great. That's a higher priority in my life than just doing something for me.
You've clearly tackled a lot of mountains and a lot of problems and said yes, 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 yes. I wonder what it must be like. I think this is a common experience for accomplished men who they slay a bunch of dragons and then they meet the woman of their life and the woman of their dreams, and she goes, hey, you're not emotionally intelligent. It's wait a second. Huh? I've put so much effort and work into all these places, and now you want me to go into this mysterious realm?
Yeah, so that's where the ego comes in, and I've heard those very words.
Yeah.
You're not emotionally intelligent, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have done all these things without being, and I'm not as emotionally intelligent as I could be. That's what I have to keep reminding myself. Okay, I am not I am not a 5-star athlete at emotional intelligence.
Right.
I'll give myself a 3, maybe 2.5. But that's what my wife is talking about when she says, Joe, you're not emotionally intelligent. And she'll always recant that and say, hey, look, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, there's more. There's so much more than what you're letting me see.
Well, it sounds like you've taken a good attitude about it.
Sometimes. No, I can get defensive. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you were coaching defensive Joe, what might you say to him?
Take a deep breath and relax. Give yourself a break. It's okay. It's okay. Just because you're not doing great in this little thing, you have a lifetime of things that you've done really, really well. So, it's okay. Keep going.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men need to hear that for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of my friends will be very, very critical of themselves.
Yeah.
And we have to remind each other, hold on. Look at who you are. This is who you are. And we are, as a group, I think we're shifting more into look at who you are versus look at what you've done. And that is so much more impactful.
Ooh.
And that's,
I like that.
that's, and I try to do that more with my kids as well, is focus on who they are versus what they've achieved.
I want you to say more about that.
I'm just starting. So.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that honesty.
Yeah.
But what for you is maybe what's helping you shift into that from doing to being?
My oldest, so high school's hard for parents and kids. And so my oldest said to me, you only love me for what I've done. And that hurt to think that that's how he felt. That's, oh my gosh, I have missed the mark on so many things if he thinks that my love is dependent upon what he's accomplished. I gotta turn this around immediately
Yeah.
and really focus on celebrating who he is.
It's really beautiful.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious that you care so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's just means the world to any child, just to know that their parent cares, a lot of them. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people doing trauma work. That's not a guarantee for a lot of people to know that. And I think it's also just a byproduct of our culture, which is it's very easy to celebrate an accomplishment, you know, something that's tangible and physical and right in front of you, instead of just, you know, in the middle of the day being like, you know, I just love who you are.
I appreciate your thoughtfulness. You know, I appreciate your drive.
Yeah.
I appreciate your analysis. I appreciate your heart.
Yeah.
You know, those type of things.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So what would you say? I mean, because, you know, you're obviously articulating your struggles, your personal struggles at this stage in your life. But what would you say to those young men who are really just starting off in their life and they're just not sure what it means to be a man? You know, you've got all of these contrasts. You know, you've got the superhero archetype, and then you've got the wimpy guy, and like what would you advise for someone who's just confused? Like, who do I identify with?
I would start with what character traits do you feel great about yourself? And write them down. I feel great that I think of other people before myself. I feel great that I can, when times are hard, that I can rise up and I can lead people through a tough situation. And those are two of my personal ones. But make an inventory of what you feel great about yourself. And then go find a mentor, or just research a mentor who also shares those personality traits. And that's a good source of where to find a model on what to be like. I was very, very fortunate when I was in the Army, just mentors and leaders and shining of examples of what to be were all around. And so it was very, very easy. But outside of that, it's much more difficult. In the corporate world, I've found the mentors who I really look to are few and far between, whereas in the Army, they were everywhere.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that is?
Oh, gosh. It could be the corporate world is a for-profit environment. And that's neither bad nor good. It just is. I think it can be bad. It can be good, but it is. Whereas the Army, it was a service environment. Like, we are there to serve each other and serve our nation.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of team is very predominant in one versus the other. Certainly not in corporate world.
I mean, they say it doesn't mean that it's necessarily true.
Yeah, no, and I'm in a great space with my job. My boss was also an Army Ranger, and he just has created a culture that's very, very similar to what we shared in the Army. And he enables me to do the same thing with the folks that I lead. And it's a wonderful spot in a massive company that has a very ethical and very strong and very caring leadership. That's people first.
People first. Are there any other pillars of the Army that you really keep with you, like sentiments around leadership and around work?
Oh gosh, all of them. You know,
all
it's
of them.
yeah.
Give me some cliff notes so I don't have to go to the Army to get
Just kidding.
but not.
Yeah. So holding myself to a very, very high standard. And number one, I have got going back to high school, trying to be a team captain. The only thing that I knew to do then was to be the best self I could possibly be. Is do my research, work hard, practice my skill set, set a great example. Those things also held true in the Army. The other one is problem solving. There's no problem we can't figure it out. and you just have to know who to depend upon, who to lean upon, and invite in to help be part of the problem solving, activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are all applicable in any form of life.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Something I keep hearing from you, Joe, is that you hold yourself to a high standard, and in that as well, you're honest. You're honest where you're like, I'm not really doing this thing. I haven't mastered this yet. And that feels really important because, sure, you can kind of puff out your chest and seem like the strongest, toughest leader, but it's also really powerful and important to be able to say, I have no clue, or I'm going to need some help here.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hearing you say, and I appreciate that a lot because I think that's often missing from the storytelling, the mythology of the masculine.
Oh, I mean, I do. I'm not great at asking for help. It is a conscious effort to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I find myself in situations where I am trying to do the biggest thing in the world, and I have quickly outpaced myself. And so I've got to ask for help.
Yeah. Isn't that great, though?
Yeah.
You can set yourself up to get the lesson that you need.
That's right.
And
That's right.
stretch yourself in that way.
Yeah. I've got a 1956 Thunderbird that I've been working on.
Ooh.
And I finally got to the point where I just can't anymore. I just can't. And my youngest, who loves cars, is into it. He brought the help to me. He's taken auto shop in high school, and he said, "Hey, I was talking to my teacher, and he said that we could bring the car into school and use it for the kids in shop class to work on it." And that was awesome. I didn't even ask for help, and it came to me. And it's because I think I've laid the groundwork where my son knows I know that I don't know everything, and he felt confident and he felt great that he could bring me a solution without even me asking,
That's so cool.
which is awesome.
Yeah, even just like those subtle little openings. Like, Dad doesn't totally know everything.
Yeah.
You can allow in.
And I'm so proud of him because he was looking for an opportunity to help. And it doesn't matter that it was me. He was just looking for an opportunity to help. And that's a character trait that, oh my gosh, if that's his one takeaway from growing up in my house, that's awesome. That'll serve him well in the community for the rest of his life.
Yeah, no, that would be an amazing legacy.
Yeah.
Really, to carry on, especially given how much you've accomplished. To let your children be joyful contributors is always a great legacy.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Joe. Your sons, they're young adults-ish. I know one of them is still a teenager. But yeah, what are your main hopes for them? Because you could say that they accomplish all these things, but I feel like you have a deeper desire for them as they grow into men.
Yeah, my son Jackson, he gets stuck sometimes, and so my biggest hope for him is that he builds tools to, number one, recognize where he's stuck, and number two, progress and move forward and find solutions to being stuck. Because he's already got all these other skills and talents and character traits and attributes that are phenomenal. And we all have many detractors, but that's the one that I think holds him back the most. And so when he can recognize that he's stuck and then either lean on somebody, ask for help, or go learn something to get him unstuck, he's going to be successful in whatever he does. And I can't wait to watch.
Beautiful.
And then my younger son Marco, he knows his path right now, and so I want him to be open to that path changing. When I was in college, I went through 3 or 4 degree programs. One because I wasn't focused enough. One because I just didn't understand it, and then one because it was terrible and I just disliked it until I found the program I finally got my degree in. But going into college, I thought I knew exactly what degree program I wanted. So I see that in my younger son as well, is that he's confident that he knows what he wants to do. And so I hope that he can be open to all the avenues that creates. Should that not be his answer?
I love that you have specific desires for them.
Yeah.
Shows that you're really listening to them. Are we going to wrap up?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of territory. You've shared so much wisdom, so many pearls, I think, that are good takeaways for young men who just might be unclear. And that's obviously who we would love to get, their attention and hopefully give them some understanding of what's possible.
I'd invite them to come sit here with you and answer these questions. And even if they don't know the answers, it'll get them starting to think about it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a great experience to get to field these hard questions and deep questions that it's not a test answer. It's a life answer.
Yeah.
And those are great experiences. And I thank you both for having me. This is fantastic.
No, I'm really so grateful that you said yes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Well, Joe, if anyone who's listening wants to reach out to you, connect with you, ask you questions, what have you, where can they reach you? What can you offer them?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, please hit me up on LinkedIn.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't. I'm a follower on many social media platforms. I am not a poster on anything.
Doesn't sound like you got time for that.
No. I'm still on Facebook, and I will. In my Facebook page is Rainbows and Unicorns, so it's just the highlights once a quarter. I'll post something.
Nice.
Keep my parents happy, and
Cool.
yeah. But LinkedIn, if anybody that wants to connect, I'd love to share what I know and love to hear about what folks are struggling with.
I just have one final question that I'm realizing I want to ask. Joe, what's your message for fathers?
Show up. Show up for sure. There is nothing that your kids are going to do that you can't be an active participant in. Show up.
Love it.
You'll get back way more than you give.
I'm inspired. I want to show up for my kid that I don't have yet.
Perfect. You can show up for somebody else's kid. Short story. When I was at Fort Campbell, before I had kids, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, one of the kids on the street wanted to join the Cub Scouts, and they didn't have enough Cub Scout leaders. So my friend Jeff Leopold and I volunteered to be Cub Scout leaders for a bunch of 7, 8-year-olds, and it was awesome. We loved it. There was a couple kids there that didn't have fathers in their life, and it was instantly recognizable that they really were really benefiting from having Jeff and I be their Cub Scout leader. It was great.
Thank you for that. On behalf of all of us.
Oh, well, yes, as we said, I'm very grateful too, as well, that you came and sat with us and allowed us to look a little peek into your mind, to your soul. Yeah. So thank you. We thank all of the listeners for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode of the podcast, The Man Within. Masculine stories, women listening.
Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love your support. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if our energy resonates with you and you're feeling called to connect or work with us, you'll find all the details in the show notes below. Thank you again for being part of this journey with us.